Hey everyone, it's Char from Char's Fashion Nation. And you remember that fabric that I said I might actually just turn into pajama pant? Well, I was like, you know what? Why should I do that when I can turn it into a raglan sleeve, right? Uh, just kind of house dress with pockets and a collar that, like, if you remember a shirt that I did during the summer using the raglan sleeve pattern, except for I didn't add the sleeves, it was that pretty pink-ish, orange-ish, yellow tone with the stars on it. It's the raglan sleeve cut, but just with the collar. Well, this is going to be the same thing, except for it will have the sleeve pockets, because pockets, and I made sure that that was big enough for my phone. Now, whether I'm going to sew the pockets onto the front of it, which I might do, honestly, I might just like stitch them on the front, which I have no problem doing. Even if I just went ahead and squared off that fabric, I could do that. I'm not going to do that in white fabric for a reason, because it wouldn't look right. So honestly, I could just take this and cut it to a square. I don't want to because it's my prerogative. So I was thinking after I sew this, and then we're going to get into the sewing of this soon. Last night I spun some new thread, spinny, and I have a different white thread on my machine right now. I cleaned and oiled. Make sure that when you're using your sewing machine, that after every time you make a project, that you clean your machine properly and make sure she is well oiled. And you know what's cool though? Because you know I have the Singer Heavy Duty 4452 over here. I saw on an Instagram reel from Singer that there was this cake company that literally made a cake look like a Singer Heavy Duty, the 4452, and I was like, that's just freaking cool. That is. Now the other presser foot I will eventually get from my machine is the serger foot, and that has this little sharp blade piece. That's why it's a serger foot. So with the serger stitch on here, you can go ahead and do the stitch and it just cuts off the extra fabric, which I think is fabulous, but it's for them trained skills to know how to get the job done. Now, one thing we do need to do before we would proceed with anything is the neck banding. Oh, wait. You know what? That's a little loose right there. That's how I want that. Now, if I went ahead with both pieces, or I can just cut myself another strip because I have enough of this fabric left, and I'll still have enough of that left to make a couple of more shirts for Rob. So anyway, I jibber jabbered way too long, and now it's time to get to sewing. So that way I'm not wearing the fabric out on this anymore. I wash it, but I'm telling you, the more you wash a garment, the more you kind of wear out the fabric. Okay, one thing I want to show you, obviously this is just one part of it. Let's say you want to take one of those pieces for pocket. What you want to do, I'm just showing you, is make sure, this would be the other side, is to make sure that you have your pockets in the direction in which you want them. Now, right here would be your bust area. You know, right in here's your bust. It's the armhole area. So you can have that, say because there's a flower right here and that pattern is also through here, I would suggest either reshaping this area or just tuck it under, right? Now, one of my little things that I do with this is the little trick with this is sometimes, or most of the time, instead of pinning the pockets, which I am not a person that likes to pin a pocket. No, I am not. I would take witch stitchery, which is a fusible webbing. So when you flip this piece back a little bit, then you iron it on the rest of the way with the witch stitchery and then do your stitching. Why? I don't like using sewing pins. I've had a thing about that most of my life, but this is something I wanted to show you. People were cruel to me as a kid, so I am kind of afraid to use certain things. So I would suggest that you line it up with your pattern on here good enough to where like somebody has to be like up on you and then that's too close. You know what I mean? And then do your stitching, right? So that gives you an idea right here. Can you even really tell the difference of where I just put that pocket on camera? I mean, like after it's laid out, can you honestly see where the line is? So I think the only way that you'd really be able to see where it is that stitching that will happen. That's the only way you're going to know. But other than that, it's basically for just around the house. So that's pocket pieces, and I have 2 more over here just in case, you know, I need it for something or a boo-boo happens. So what you want to do is go ahead and lay it out like this, and this is just, you know, points obvious for sewing. Because that's what you want to do, and then make sure you have it honestly in the correct direction. So now myself doing something like this, I don't honestly need to clip the sides together, but if you're new to sewing and you want to do the sewing pin option other than, you know, the sewing clips, I like the sewing clips better. And that's because I don't have to worry about them jabbing me. So now this is just one of those fabrics that just happens to stick together well, because that's what a lot of the more stretchy fabrics do. They stick together like real friends. And if you can't be a real friend, then I don't know about you. Honestly, if you can't be a real friend, and you know, I don't know. You know, I've actually cut a lot more people out this year. And you know what though? It makes me feel better that I don't have to be around people's negative energy. Like when people say, oh, well, you know, and I don't like to get into this part, but I had people in Philly that I was friends with. They're like, well, who are you voting for? So I told them, and they're like, nope, I can't be your friend. I'm like, are you the freak kidding me? I'm like, you weren't a friend in the first place. After that, they're like, you so good. I'm like, no. Don't let people like pull that kind of shit on you. Honestly, because that is not a real friend. That's a bullshitter. So we're going to try to straighten that up just a little bit better, because I should have done that in the first place. To try to keep... Now, usually I use this selvage a different way, and I would usually cut it a different way, but I did not. So you're going to want to clip along both sides, right? And when I'm done doing that, we'll be over here at the machine. No, you know what I just realized would be the most wise idea with this? How about we put those pockets on and make that happen, because I just like held this up to myself, you know, stand for a moment and hold it up to myself. And I'm realizing the pockets have to go right about here where I placed it in the first place. So I will go ahead and take this over here. And we're just gonna go ahead and try. Like, look, this is why I have 4 cut out. If it doesn't match and you honestly want it to be that matchy, then see if one of your other pieces that's cut for that side will blend in the area and where you want it. I guess that really ain't gonna matter right there. And if it doesn't, oh well, you know what? You're wearing this around the house. Don't really matter at that point. As long as you have the opening in the direction in which it needs to be. So this would be another piece for over here, yada, 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 yada. Anyway, pockets. They go first. So I got to bust out the ironing board, oh geez, and the iron. And then after I put the pockets on, then we'll come back to actually putting the whole piece together. So I actually changed my mind on the pockets, and I cut them, as you can see, I cut them squared. So, and then I tried it against me at the neck, and this is going to end up being like a dolman sleeve, which I actually have no problem with doing that. So, and I tested the fabric against the thread that I have in currently, and it worked fine. It worked fine. So we go that part in. And remember, when you're doing this, oh, where's my straight stitch? Holy crap. Okay, so I want the straight stitch, and yes, I do want my needle a little bit to the left, right here, as you might be able to see, or maybe not. So my needle is a bit to the left, which is fine. Psh, don't get me started on left stuff. That was too drunk. For back stitch. Forward. You know what? Something that really gets me is, since I have a background in all of, you know, the sewing, I have a background in garment design and all that. And I'm not complaining. I do watch some of these YouTube creators that don't have a background and all that. And those people, I don't get it. I mean, I'm not hating on them, but don't act like you don't know what you're doing when your garment turned out. Like, don't lie about it. That's what I'm saying. Just don't lie. Because lying about your skills doesn't make anybody exactly want to watch you. Or maybe it does, because then people want to see how you've messed up on a project. But at least keep it real. friends Joy and Viv, and I have no idea what the freak that noise was just now. Holy crap. If you didn't hear it, I heard it. I have no idea what that was. Anyway, so that's a clean hemline right there. Isn't that nice? So that'll be tucked in. So honestly, I'm not worried about that. So remember, when you have this to where like, the upper part right here with the armhole. Ooh, let me fix that real quick. Don't forget that's what that's for. And I did switch my wastebasket around, so it is to my right now instead of my left. So the armhole is here. This is, we'll do this. I got one near me. In fact, I even got that, so down. This is 5.5 inches below the armpit, the armhole. So 5.5 inches below the armhole, because I took it a little lower and I'm like, you know what? That's too low. Because I put it up against me and I had taken a clip and taken the collar area, clipped it to what I have on. And I was like, no, that's the pockets aren't right. I don't like a pocket to just be drooping down my legs. I don't know about you, but I don't. I prefer that on a garment like this, that didn't even clip on there correctly, that my pockets sit more at the hip, at mid or near the top of the hip. I just don't like it hanging so far down, it's ridiculous. Because how do you expect to be comfortable like that? You know, what's the point to having it so far down your leg? You basically have to bend down to reach to what the hell you're sewing. Like, make that make sense. Like, I don't mind watching the stitchery, but I don't know. Calming her down. Have to calming her. So when you see me do something like this, and you see that, like, if I've clipped the pocket on, I will check it against myself before I continue. Now, like I said, this is still going to be a raglan sleeve, but kind of like a raglan but dolman at the same time. I just want to be comfortable anymore. Plus, I need to get back into doing videos ahead of schedule. I know I've been getting them out a little later than my norm. But so there's that. So let me move this back here for a minute. Now, where this is going to sit, like I said, is at the hip. And it's going to be at the hip because I know this does not look like 6 inches. To me, honestly, it doesn't either. But I think, to me, this looks like way less than 6 inches. So let's just go ahead and take this. Honestly, I don't think it's 6 inches. Sure enough, I don't know if you can see that. I doubt it. But that, my friend, is 6 inches. Sorry about that. Okay. I'll be back with the other pockets on and the sides sewn up. Okay, so this is actually the next day. So I have one side done, and I did take my pinking shears around the pocket, because that, when you're using that serger stitch, because that's what I use, like your interlocking serger stitch. Like I said, there's different versions of an overlock and a serger stitch. So I did use that all down the sides. So that's one side done. And like I said, I decided to change pocket because, quite frankly, my phone will still fit in there because it's stretchy anyway. So now onto this side. We'll sew up the side real quick, and then I will do the sleeves. I know I said I'd do both sides and then we'd be back, but you know, some people actually like to see how I do this, and some people are grumpy. I'm not gonna lie about that. I have people that are really good, you know, patient people that like to watch these and learn, and then I have some just really cracked ass, you know, grumpy people that, you know, just say some grumpy things like, wow, really? Did you have your coffee today? Just asking. So, funny story. So, my new primary had the office called because, you know, I did the lab work and all. Because, you know, you're supposed to do that when you have a new primary physician. And so they called me, and like, the lady was nice and all. She was like, oh, well, it looks like you have a lot of calcium built up around your kidney. It could be kidney stones. You need to hydrate. And I'm like, she's like, well, it's not like you don't hydrate. And I'm like, you know what, though? They also tried to say that my A1C is high and that I also have high cholesterol. And I'm like, but you know what that's part of? So I educated her on what Hashimoto's disease actually is. Your primary care physician may not actually know everything that you have. And even though they're a primary care physician, they may not be schooled in things that need to be taken care of by endocrinologists. And so I let her know, I let the receptionist know about the effects of Hashimoto's disease. And the fact that people can get it confused thinking that it's just thyroid disease, but it is not thyroid disease. It is something completely different. And then why is it called disease? It is an autoimmune disorder. It's not an actual disease, you know what I mean? So I have been working on a cookbook. I even told my friend Joy that I'm working on a cookbook because she likes my cooking videos, and I know I should do some more, but I told her that I am working on that cookbook, and then, you know, like when I'm done, I'll end up just giving her one. For the first one. Because that's a lot. That is a lot of medical life-changing recipes. One thing that I do, and I know eventually I gotta show it to you all, is this one tea that I make with rose hip bud, cat's claw bark, even. Make it even. Yeah. Cat's claw bark and Santo Paleo shaving. Cinnamon, turmeric, and honey. Now that is something that actually helps with a lot of issues. I gotta switch to my left foot. Now, y'all, I am lucky I can switch to my left foot when I'm sewing. Lift, turn, put that back down in your lap, adjust your pocket properly. I don't know why that is not matching up too good on this side, but we're gonna get it anyway. I think it's because like one part of the fabric was cut a little different than the other one, but they came out kind of even anyway. Whoops. Let's remember to put that back down. Oh, come on. Let's not be stuck. Sometimes this will happen where this fabric will literally get stuck in there. So what you want to do, have your little tools handy. This is one that I got from Amazon. Amazon does have some good stuff for like in a pinch for stuff like this. And this just means I'll rethread. Sometimes this happens and it's no big deal. Pop that. Snip. Now you can get your bobbin out. Just do that. Don't do the thing with the scissor. Do this part. Snip. Put that to the side. Because you need that. And right here, this might teach you a little maintenance and repair. And yes, I do have the tension set a specific way. In case anybody out there that doesn't sew wants to tell me about adjusting the tension, I already know about that. Thank you. Adjust the tensions. Well, sometimes when you adjust the tension to where you need it, this can still happen. See how it is right here? That right there can still happen. So one thing you want to do is make sure, sometimes you have to do this part, make sure you snip those threads away from it. Far away from it. Anyway. And then, there you go. Just tug it out. Tug it out. And you're good. And I did not have to rethread it, if you notice. So there's that. So don't forget to put your, some people's screws are loose. Just put yours back. Oh goodness. And today is Monday. I started this on Sunday. Actually, I've had it cut out for a few days. It's been sitting on the fabric table. Yes, it has. So anyway, so I hope this part right here helps you realize that also sometimes your machine might need a little oil. It could be dry, although I maintain and oil before I go on to a new project. And remember, when you're sitting like this, this is another thing about hydration. When you're sitting at your machine, make sure you have something to drink. Because your kidneys, yes, they can hurt. Your bladder isn't exactly always going to tell you, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. So when you're sitting for a while, sometimes you just have to remind yourself every so many hours, why is that one not going back in properly? There we go. No loose screws around here, except for Rocco. If you watched his video yesterday about the campground that he was at, he said it was kind of like creepy. I didn't think it was creepy. I actually think that place was kind of cool. So did his sister. So did his cousin. Like, oh, that's not creepy. That's cool. There's some campground in Virginia that he went to. He finally uploaded a video. Rocco finally uploaded a video. We'll just go ahead and take care of that. Reach back here. Try to get both threads. Make sure they're kind of crossed here. Make sure you see this piece of thread come across that bobbin. And there you go. Now this can go back on the machine. Now it can go back. So, I don't know why it did that. Whatever. Whatever. And now we can just put this back over here, and I'm good with that. Try to like get these to lay flat together a bit. That would be nice. Yeah, pretty much. So, anyway, I know I've jabbered too long on this part. Oops. Remember to switch that back. And then reverse. Do not forget to reverse stitch, because if you forget, you're not locking your stitch in. That's how you lock it in. And if you have this little bunchy part happen, lift it. That just means that there's an extra thread in there that's trying to stay caught. And that's how that gets a little bunchy. It happens sometimes. Doesn't matter the machine. It happens with a lot of different machines. Can happen with your Singer, your Bernina. Also, you could just go, and that helps to take that out of there. A lot of people be like, oh my God, why? Because, like I said, my background in sewing, I've been sewing since I was young. A lot of us with any kind of background in sewing have been around elders that have always tried to teach us a basic essential of life. And let me tell you something, sewing and cooking is a basic essential that they do not teach in school anymore. Anybody remember home ec? Me, I remember home ec. Home ec used to teach young people how to cook and sew and bake and manage their money. Your basic essentials for when you go out on your own in life. And they just don't teach that anymore. And I believe that's something that should be brought back to the educational system. Instead of, let's learn this complicated math that we'll never freaking use. Like, look, unless you plan on going into, like, some part of physics, then yeah, take that math. But not everybody's going to take that math. Okay, time to switch beat again. What I mean by switch beat is the foot that I'm sewing with down at the pedal. So yeah. Oh, anyway, yeah, the doctor thing, right? They're trying to tell me that I'm borderline diabetic. Y'all, I barely even eat sweets. Really. I don't like milk chocolate. I like dark chocolate for the flavor and the fact that it's antioxidant. I will eat blueberries, raspberries. You know, I love fruit. I love vegetables. You know, I like cooking properly. And I told the lady, you know, like, this is how my diet is. That's also why I was telling her about the Hashimoto's. Hold on. I'm not going to say sorry about that. That was my son calling. Family is first, as always. I gotta remember to use my left foot today. So there was that. Also, when you're using a knit fabric like this, that you have to remember to use a certain type of thread with this. This is why I'm not using that serger thread with this one. And I'm using a more silky type thread. Like those threads that I got in those boxes, I'm using these. I do love these. I still keep a whole bunch of these in different colors. Sometimes I do gravitate to these. This one's used. I've used this one. I've used that one. Oh, and that one. I'm trying to think if I used any of that. Okay, these two, that one, and that one. Oh, and this one. I've used this one. So I have used some of these, which is great. I don't mind. So yeah. Remember, you can get these on Amazon. If I can find the link, I will try to put the link. No, this is not sponsored. They do not pay me, and I'm okay with that. Sometimes you can find things like that with Joy. I'll leave her link. And the reason I will leave her link is because she's sweet. She is subscribed to my channel now. Thank you, Joy. I appreciate that. In her description box or in the more section, she does have the link to her Amazon, so go check that out. So, yeah, straighten that piece of fabric. Also remember, keep an eye on your fabric underneath, because if that bunches up, it's going to bunch up right here, and you don't want that bunching. It's a bunch of no. Not what you want. Okay, so you might wonder why I did it like that. So when we pull this off of here, now you might wonder how much bobbin do I have left. I literally, and I know not a lot of people do this, Not a lot of people do it. I fill up my bobbins almost all the way to the very edge. That's how I do that. So, what's on my finger? I don't know. Anyway, it was a rogue hair. Let's move this out of the way real quick. And now the reason that I did this, and let me show you like these hemlines, right? You know I'm all about showing you those hemlines. That is clean. If it's stretched, you're not going to see too much of the thread. Now, also remember to wash this when you're done. And why? I recommend that you wash it because you're going to tighten your thread. That literally tightens your thread. So, over here with the pocket, right? Over here with the pocket, making sure you can see that. Take your lovely, ginormous pinking shears, right? And I do this because whatever's left on the edge curly does not always stabilize your pocket. And I know a lot of people probably don't think about doing that, but I do. Sometimes I don't mind having that on the end of it, depending on the cut of the pocket. That's something to think about. Is this shape of your pocket is essential to how you honestly want to do this. So, little fabric scrappies. Yeah. So yeah, I was telling my son about my medical stuff. So, and also on that, you know, like I was saying, a lot of our doctors these days, just your primaries, they may not be fully up to date on what some sort of neurological disorder or some sort of autoimmune disorder is. I'm not going to call it a disease. It is a disorder. A disease to me is something that is contagious. It is a disorder. I mean, I suppose it could be passed along. At least that's what I was told by endocrinology, that Hashimoto's could be passed along through your bloodline. So that to children, not whom and which you lay with, because it's not contagious like that. My son was kind of freaked out when I went down to visit. And I'm like, oh, no, son, it's not contagious. He's like, oh. So I sat down with him and told him about it. And he's like, I'm sorry, Mom. He's like, I thought it was contagious. I told him, no, that's fine. Because people are not educated on it. Now, what I'm going to do along here is I'm going to cut it across. But I'm not going to do that on camera because this video is already too darn long. Okay, now that I have the bottom of this trimmed, we'll finish that part after a bit. Now, and by the way, I'm going to use this around the collar. I'm just going to use like a very thin neckband. I'll end up stitching it down before I do that because it's curled. And it might look nice. You never know. So let me try to get my leg comfy, because that always helps. And we'll just move this over here. I'm deciding not to use the white as the neckband, and I have my reasons. I think that would be just too much white fabric, and I like a contrast to it. And that's quite honestly why I'm doing the white sleeve with this fabric, even though this is more of a cream tone, is kind of an offset. And it will work. I know I gotta go get some more water in a moment. Still under doctor's orders to work out and hydrate. Hydrate. this right here is the back of the sleeve, and don't mind that stuff over here. That's the sofa with stuff that's going to other people. So this over here is the front. This over here is the back. So I have 2 sleeves cut. What I did not do here was cut that V. I didn't bother with that yet. Not saying that I don't still have my sleeve pattern out, because I know I do. Because I know I do. So you can take that, and look, you know which is which here. Which is which and why. Which and why. No. So what I would do, because that's so close to here, is we are going to take that right about here. Go ahead and hold that down with something. Hold that down with my phone too. And no, I'm not using my rotary cutter on this, because that would not be a good idea. And also the good thing to do would be to make sure that your pieces of fabric are actually aligned before you do this. That would have been my mistake right here. And right here would have been my mistake. Or you could just take one of these at a time and do that. I try to do both at the same time. You don't exactly have to, but that is something that you might want to think about if you're going for more advanced. Now, if you're a beginner, try to start with a pattern. Let's see. I suppose you could start with the pattern that I'm using. I suppose you could start with this. When you're doing that raglan sleeve, if you're a beginner, I'm going to suggest that you go with the shorter sleeve, okay? If you want to learn how to do the skirts, those are not really that hard. You can make yourself one of these and sew in a pair of stretchy shorts underneath it, and you can make a skirt. Quite literally, you could take your pants fabric pattern and make a pair of shorts, and then slide that short underneath the skirt. You're good. Even with the long skirt, you could do the same thing. This says easy. Not for everyone, it isn't. So like I was saying, you take it like this, right, lay it out. Want to make sure that that V is not too close to this, close enough, or you can move that little bit of that V over right here. I'm not honestly sure I want it that close to the neckline, but that's why you have time to adjust things. You always have time to do that. Sometimes what I like to do is just go ahead and take it like this. And then, because I've seen a lot of people just cut out the V. Don't always do that. You're not literally giving yourself enough for adjustment. Now, for this here, I'm not going to do such a deep V on that shoulder, on the front at least. On the back, you can do, depends on your shoulders. Some ladies have small shoulders. Some of us are built more like quarterback. I've been told my whole life that I'm built like a linebacker. I don't know if that was just to insult my size. It probably was. Those people were like colonizers anyway. Not every white person is a colonizer, just so you know. Remember, blue is back. Any other color is the front. Okay, this is back. Now use the other color to mark the front. Lay out the other piece. Try to make sure that you have it lined out accordingly, or laid out accordingly, how you already had the other piece, right? This makes this much, much easier on you when you're doing this. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to sew the sides of the sleeve and then get it sewn on here. And then we'll probably come back when I'm done with this. And I know a lot of people want to see how I attach the sleeve. I do have other videos showing how I attach a raglan sleeve. And so I will try to link that for you. We'll be back. Okay, so I'm going to show you something a lot of people don't know, that with a kind of sleeve like this, I'm going to have to finish this tomorrow. As you know, I've got the sides done. I trimmed at the bottom. That's why we have this piece for around the neckline and all. I have the other sleeve right here, and I have them both marked a specific way so that you know which side is front and back on this, even though this is an option of just cutting the raglan sleeve a specific way, whatever. What a lot of people don't understand when it comes down to those of us that sew, we have to try to put the sleeve, especially if you're adding a sleeve. Okay, let me show you this. If you're adding a sleeve like this, it can be a little strenuous trying your best to match it up, matchy. And you know why? Because I've had to re-clip this together a few times because this part and this part didn't want to clip together. And you have to be extremely careful with that and try to make sure that happens so that, like, this side's already clipped on here, and that's what your hemline would look like. Okay, so I'm going to just finish clipping this one on here tonight, and then tomorrow, especially with this kind of fabric, it can be a little daunting. That way when you get them on and you have so much fabric left above where that is, where the sleeve line is, and you have all this little extra, you have the option of just rolling that back when you're done. That way you're not wasting any fabric. Or you can roll that, well, yeah, you can roll it back so you're not wasting fabric. And then on this part, I would suggest just reminding yourself what's front and what's back, because the front will drop a little lower than the back. And yeah, see you tomorrow. I know I said finished product, but you know what? It's so many days later. And I'm just now getting the neckband on. I will tell you, when you're sewing, sometimes you have to step away from it just to do other things that you need to do. And that's absolutely true. Viv and Joy could tell you the same thing. Sometimes you have to, like, give yourself a little bit of a break. I don't know why that's like doing this, bunching like that. See, sometimes you have to adjust what you're working on. Even after you take a break. Y'all, I'm doing this and I'm not even caffeinated yet. Yes, I had to adjust the line. I had to adjust the line right there for a reason. And now I'm actually almost done with this. I started at the back. And by the way, if that doesn't catch, I'll just go back and hand stitch it. I've done that to a few garments where like the fabric didn't stay together. And yeah. I'm debating, should I just leave the bottom unfinished, you know? Should I finish it? What shall I do? Now, it's like last night, this was weird when I was stitching this piece together. It's like, it got caught down in the thing here and I wanted to make some mayhem. So, turn this on now. And we've got a clean hemline. Oh gosh, you can't even see that. We've got a clean hemline. As always, you might not be able to see that either. Well, you can see that. But anyway, after I'm caffeinated, I'm going to finish the sleeve, which will probably just be like a double roll hem. Sometimes I like the sleeve to be loose. Sometimes. Anyway, after a while. And ta-da. And this is the finished product. I do like a baggy sleeve, kind of. And it's big here, but if I take it in, I have big hips and a big booty. So you might be able to see that with my sleeves. So if you notice, and in a moment I'll show you the length of how far down it goes. It goes basically mid-calf. So let's show you that. Anyway, you're just going to have to believe me that it's mid-calf, because as you can see from this angle, and the pockets are in a good place, they're not hanging down to my knees. I don't know who could be comfortable with that. Yes, it's nighttime when I'm finishing this. So remember, if you ever feel the urge to learn how to sew, Joy and myself, and there are some other people out there that do have sewing tutorials. And I found that Fabric Mart is now doing those on YouTube. I like this collar. It fits great in the shoulders. It's for around the house. It's cold out. And I'm glad that I made this instead of making this into pants, because it's cute. And Joy's right on the flower placements. Try to make sure they're not here. So they're like below the bust. And this is what I mean. Like if I tighten that there, look how big my hips are. That's why I don't do that. Let it hang flowy for just around the house. Stay comfortable. Also, stay happy, stay healthy, stay positive, and as always, stay blessed. And on to the next, which is more sewing, by the way, because I have something to do before, I'm going to say next weekend when my son gets here. I'm excited for him to move up here. So anyway, see you later. Bye.